Have you ever felt tired? Not just physically, but mentally after trying to speak English? Like your brain was doing too much, searching, translating, freezing, while your mouth stayed silent. You understood the words, but speaking felt like carrying a heavy suitcase inside your head. If that's you, you're not alone. And you're not bad at languages. Your brain is simply doing what it's been trained to do: translate to survive. But fluency, real fluency, it begins the moment you stop translating and start thinking in English. Most people believe fluency comes from studying more, learning more vocabulary, memorizing more grammar. But what if I told you that the real key to speaking fluently isn't about adding more, it's about trusting more? Trusting your thoughts in English, trusting your mistakes, trusting that a different voice inside you is ready to come alive. Not after 5 years, but starting today. This video is not just a lesson, it's a mirror, a quiet revolution, and a step-by-step transformation that shows you exactly how to stop translating in 30 days. You'll learn the invisible psychology behind why your brain resists English. You'll discover practical rituals that rewire your thinking. And more than that, you'll meet the version of yourself that exists beyond hesitation. Because this isn't just about English. It's about becoming someone you've never met, someone who speaks clearly, lives presently, and no longer needs to prepare to be understood. If you're ready, we begin now. He sat in his room with the window slightly open, the sound of rain tapping gently against the glass. A YouTube video was playing in English, subtitles on, headphones in. He understood everything, every word made sense. But when he tried to speak, nothing came out. His mouth froze, his mind froze. That's when the truth hit him like a cold wind. He didn't have a vocabulary problem, he had a thinking problem. He wasn't really learning English. He was translating it, word by word, like a slow machine. Every sentence he tried to speak had to pass through a mental checkpoint in his native language, and that checkpoint, it was slow, confusing, and full of fear. His brain wasn't failing. It was just caught in a system-switching loop. It wasn't thinking in English. It was translating from survival mode. He remembered one sentence clearly, the one that broke his illusion. "What do you mean by that?" Such a simple phrase. But when he tried to respond, his thoughts had to jump back home, get dressed in his native clothes, then come back and pretend to be English. It felt fake, heavy, wrong. That's the moment he whispered something life-changing. "I choose English thought." Not perfect grammar, not big words, just presence. He started small. He looked around his room and described what he saw. "This is my desk. It's brown. The lamp is on." No translation, just observation. In English. It felt strange at first, like walking barefoot on new ground. But something subtle was happening. His brain didn't resist. It adjusted. It started to accept that English didn't have to be translated. It could be thought. Every time he translated a word, his energy dropped. Every time he looked for the correct sentence, his flow disappeared. He realized something important. Translation is like carrying a heavy suitcase through your mind. And fluency is when you finally drop that suitcase. You stop thinking about English, and you just think in English. Light, fast, free. He began a new practice. No more mental subtitles. For 10 seconds a day, he spoke out loud with zero translation. "I am brushing my teeth. I feel tired. I want coffee." Simple, honest, present. He made a deal with himself. It didn't need to be perfect. It just needed to be real. And those 10 seconds slowly became 30, then 60. Each day, the suitcase got lighter. One night, he was walking home, tired, hungry. He passed a small store and thought, maybe I'll get something sweet. But something felt different. That thought, it wasn't translated. It came naturally in English, without effort, without fear. He paused under a streetlight, looked up, and smiled. That was it. That was the breakthrough. Fluency wasn't a moment of celebration. It was a moment of silence, where translation disappeared. From that day on, he stopped chasing perfect grammar. He stopped waiting for confidence. He realized fluency doesn't begin when you master English. It begins the moment you stop being afraid to think in it. And now, every morning, he practices what he calls English-only moments. 2 minutes, no subtitles, no translations, just him, his mind, and the language of the life he's building. If you truly want to stay stuck, confused, hesitant, nervous, then go ahead, translate word by word like a human dictionary. Make sure every English sentence must first be approved by your mental grammar police in your native language. Say things like, "Wait, how do we say this in English again?" That's the perfect way to kill your confidence, because focusing on words instead of meaning will keep you fluent in one thing only: self-doubt. And if you want to make your English learning even slower, keep using subtitles in your native language. Watch every English movie with your language at the bottom. Let your brain get lazy. Let it rely on comfort. This way, English never becomes real. It stays foreign, disconnected, and far away. But hey, at least you'll understand every word without actually learning how to live in the language. Now, if you really want to destroy your speaking skills, here's another great tip. Plan your answer in your head before speaking. Create the perfect sentence, perfect structure, perfect vocabulary. Then panic when you forget it halfway through. The best way to freeze during conversations is to aim for perfection instead of presence. Meanwhile, fluent speakers, they just speak, they make mistakes, and keep going. Still with me? Good. Because here's the golden rule for slow progress. Try to understand everything. Don't tolerate confusion. If one word is unclear, pause the video. Look it up. Feel frustrated. This mindset will guarantee that you never enjoy English because it turns every small moment into a test. But real fluency, it grows in confusion, in 20% not knowing, in 80% trusting. You see, your brain isn't a machine, it's a pattern detector. If you don't allow space for uncertainty, your brain never gets the chance to guess, to adapt, to feel the language. So yes, if your goal is to stay stuck in your native mind forever, avoid that discomfort. But if you're ready to grow, let yourself be a little lost sometimes. Confusion is not the enemy, it's the beginning of intuition. Let's talk practical. Want to switch subtitles? Use English ones. At first you'll struggle, you might miss the joke, but your brain, it starts working. It starts connecting words to context, not translation, not memorization, real understanding. Next time you watch Netflix or YouTube, make it a rule. English video, English subtitles. Let your brain feel the pressure. That's how it grows. And about the mental freezing, next time someone asks you a question in English, don't plan, just answer. Anything. Even if it's simple, even if it's wrong. Yes, I like. No, I don't want. The goal isn't elegance, it's aliveness. You're not training for grammar exams, you're training for life, and life rewards the bold, not the perfect. Finally, let this idea sink in. The brain you feed becomes the brain you live with. If you keep feeding it fear, it will give you hesitation. If you feed it exposure, it will give you fluency. So, the next time you're tempted to do things the old way, remember what that version of you created, and what this new version of you could become if you stop feeding the translator and start trusting the thinker. He was the quiet one in class, always the last to answer, always choosing the safest words. His English was clear, but his mind was full of noise, two voices constantly competing, one in English trying to speak, one in his native language trying to translate. And in that invisible war, he lost his fluency, not because he didn't know the words, but because he couldn't trust them. During every conversation he paused, not because he didn't care, but because he was translating. His brain wasn't in flow, it was in fight. One part listening, the other trying to build the sentence piece by piece, like trying to build a house while walking through a storm. People thought he was slow, but the truth? He was fighting harder than anyone else in that room. One night he decided to try something different. No more notes, no more rules, just a story. A simple, graded reader. He chose a level below his current one. and made a new rule: no translation, only imagination. As he read, he didn't ask, "What does this mean in my language?" He asked, "What does this look like in my mind?" That small shift changed everything. The story was simple: a boy, a bicycle, a rainy day. But this student? He closed his eyes and pictured it in English. He imagined the scene: the boy's red jacket, the wet road, the heavy clouds. No translation, just visual English. Each page became a little movie in his mind, and slowly something magical happened. The language started to live inside him. By the second week, something had shifted. English wasn't a subject anymore. It wasn't grammar rules and vocabulary lists. It became a place, a space he entered, a space he could breathe in. He began narrating small actions in English. "I'm washing my hands. I'm cooking rice. I feel tired." These were no longer sentences. They were thoughts spoken aloud. One morning, his teacher asked him a question, and for the first time, he didn't pause. He didn't plan. He just spoke. The words came out naturally, not perfect, but present. After class, a classmate said, "Hey, your English is getting better." But inside he knew it wasn't just his English. It was his relationship with English. He wasn't translating anymore. He was thinking. That night, he recorded a voice message to himself, just 15 seconds, a random thought about his day. He laughed at how awkward he sounded, but it didn't matter. That audio became a daily ritual, a small moment where he let his English self speak without judgment. And with every recording, his confidence grew, not because he sounded perfect, but because he sounded real. His journey wasn't magical, it wasn't fast, but it was honest, and that honesty became his power. He learned that fluency doesn't come from knowing more. It comes from trusting more, trusting your mouth, trusting your mind, trusting the voice inside you that says, "I am ready now." And as his fluency grew, he didn't feel like he was speaking English. He felt like he was finally speaking himself. Let's get one thing clear. Your brain is not the enemy. You're not bad at English. You're not slow. You're not broken. Your brain is doing what every intelligent brain does. It's trying to protect you, and the way it protects you, it holds on to your native language like a safety blanket. It says, "This is what I know. This is what feels safe." Psychologists call this the safety language system. It's the default mode your mind returns to when it feels unsure. Think about it. When you feel nervous, embarrassed, or judged, what language do your thoughts immediately go back to? Your mother tongue. Not because it's better, but because it's familiar. Your native language is home. English is still a hotel. Now here's the problem. When your brain doesn't trust English, it won't think in it. It will only translate. Translation is your brain's emergency tool. It's how it stays safe. But that safety comes with a cost. Hesitation, confusion, burnout. Translation overloads your working memory, the part of your brain responsible for holding short-term thoughts. And when it's overwhelmed, your mind goes blank. Ever tried to speak and felt like your brain suddenly shut down? That's not your fault. It's your cognitive load reaching its limit. Too many tabs open in your mental browser. That's why you freeze. That's why you forget basic words. The solution isn't to try harder. It's to simplify. Use short, clear sentences. Give your brain space to think, not translate. But there's a deeper layer most people ignore. It's the identity conflict. You speak one language, but you think in another. And when those identities clash, it creates emotional tension. You might feel fake speaking English. You might feel like you're pretending. That's not a language problem. That's your inner self asking, "Can I be me in this new language?" Here's where the trust building begins. Your brain stops translating when English becomes predictable, when it starts to recognize rhythms, patterns, emotions. And the only way to build that trust is through repetition. Start small. Repeat one English phrase 10 times today. I am learning to trust English. Whisper it while brushing your teeth. Say it while walking. Let it sink in. And don't wait until you feel ready to create a new identity in English. Start declaring it out loud. I am an English speaker. I think in English. These sentences may feel strange at first, but remember, your brain follows your voice. Identity is not found. It's built. Every time you speak English, you're creating a new version of yourself. The most fluent people aren't the ones who learned the fastest. They're the ones who stopped treating English like a school subject and started treating it like a part of their story. A language your future self lives in, a language your current self can trust. And that trust begins not with grammar, but with the quiet decision to say, "Did you enjoy the content and it made a difference for you?" Click on Super Thanks and support our work. English is safe for me now. There's a part of you that the world has never met yet. It's the version of you that speaks, thinks, dreams and lives in English. Not perfectly, not like a textbook, but differently. This English thinking self feels like a new version of you, because it is. And that's where most people get stuck. They don't realize that learning English is not just about words. It's about identity. Your native thinking self is familiar, predictable, safe, but also limited. It carries your past, your fears, your family, your rules, and then English shows up like a strange new mirror. Suddenly, your thoughts sound different. Your voice changes, your emotions feel unfamiliar, and it's uncomfortable because growth always is. The biggest fear isn't grammar, it's sounding different. It's opening your mouth and not recognizing who's speaking. That's why people freeze. That's why they hide. But here's the secret. That different voice, that's the beginning of expansion. Fluency is not about sounding native. It's about becoming global, becoming someone who no longer fits in one single version of self. Think of it this way. When you speak English, you're not just using new words, you're stepping onto a new bridge. This bridge connects your old self with your future self. And with every thought you speak in English, you lay another brick. One sentence, one mistake. One breakthrough, the bridge gets stronger, and one day you cross over. To help that bridge form faster, try this. Write one short paragraph as your English self. Talk about your dreams, your morning, your goals. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be true. Start with, "I am the version of me who," then finish the sentence. What does your English self want? What does it fear? Let it speak, not from grammar, but from heart. There's a rebirth happening here. A quiet, invisible transformation. You're not just becoming fluent, you're becoming bilingual in identity. You now carry two voices, two worlds, two ways to express your soul. That is not confusion, that is power. The ability to exist in more than one reality. The ability to choose who you are, depending on the moment. So next time you feel strange speaking English, remember this. It's supposed to feel strange. You're not losing yourself. You're meeting yourself in a new language. It's like seeing your reflection in a different mirror, not clearer, just different. And different is where all transformation begins, not in comfort, in courage. And slowly, the question becomes not, how do I say this in English? But who am I in English? And that's the real journey. That's why you're here, because deep down you don't just want better sentences, you want a better story. And that story is waiting to be told by the version of you that's finally brave enough to think in English. Your brain is a beautiful machine, but it runs on patterns. Whatever you repeat, it starts to automate. That's why translation feels so automatic, because you've trained it that way. But here's the truth they don't teach in school. Your brain can switch to monolingual mode. It can operate entirely in English, but only if you ritualize it. Repetition is not boring. It's rewiring. Start with 5 minutes, just 5. Turn off your native language. Choose one English input, a podcast, a video, a short story. But here's the catch. No looking up words, no switching languages, no safety nets. Let your brain feel the weight of immersion. Let it struggle, because in that short struggle, you're building mental muscle. The fastest path to fluency isn't memorizing, it's visualizing. Replace words with images. When you hear, "He opened the door," don't translate. See it. Here she walked slowly, and imagine her steps. Your brain remembers stories, not definitions. This is how children learn, by seeing the meaning. And your brain, no matter your age, still learns best this way. Here's a daily exercise. Read 3 sentences in English, then close your eyes. Picture them like a scene in a movie. Don't understand them, experience them. Do this every day for 30 days. It's not magic, it's biology. Visualization activates different brain areas than translation. It creates fluency through feeling, not just logic. Then comes the curve, the repetition automaticity curve. You've felt it before. That moment when a phrase like "I don't know" or "it's up to you" suddenly comes out of your mouth without effort. That's not random. That's neural imprinting. Repeating a phrase 20 times a day makes it permanent. Not as knowledge, as reflex. Choose one powerful phrase today, something useful, like "I'm working on my English," or "I speak English with confidence." Whisper it, say it while walking, write it, record it, repeat it until your brain stops translating it and just says it. This is how new wiring is built, not from study, from saturation. Then comes the anchor, shadowing. This is one of the most powerful brain training tools in the world. You listen to 1 minute of natural English audio and repeat every word at the same time like an echo. Not pausing, not thinking, just feeling the rhythm. This trains your brain to process sound as English, not as something to be converted. When you do this consistently, immersion, visualization, repetition, shadowing, something profound happens. English stops being a second language. It becomes a second nature. You start to feel the language before you think, and in that feeling, translation dies. What replaces it? Flow, clarity, presence. And that, right there, is the beginning of real freedom. At first, no one could tell what changed. His words were the same. His grammar wasn't perfect, but something was different. People leaned in when he spoke. His voice had rhythm, his energy had flow. He no longer sounded like someone trying to get it right. He sounded like someone comfortable inside the language. That's what made him magnetic. It wasn't just about English anymore, it was about presence. He wasn't pausing every second to search for words. He wasn't stuck between languages. He was here. When he spoke, he didn't sound robotic or rehearsed. He sounded alive, and that aliveness, people could feel it. The rhythm had changed. He was no longer using his native language melody. He wasn't placing stress on the wrong syllables. He spoke with the music of English. That subtle shift made his words smoother, more natural. Try it yourself. Listen to a native speaker and mimic the tone, not just the words. Don't copy the sentence. Copy the song inside it. Then came the speed. Because he stopped translating, his answers became faster. Not because he was rushing, but because he wasn't analyzing. His mind wasn't editing every word. It was releasing them. You can test this too. Ask yourself a simple question like, "What did I eat today?" Then answer in English. No pause. Don't plan. Just speak. And here's the surprising part. The faster he responded, the more confident he looked, even when his grammar wasn't perfect. Because confidence isn't about correctness. It's about connection. When people see you trust your voice, they trust you more. And that trust opens doors, socially, professionally, emotionally. He noticed something else too. Opportunities started showing up. A job interview in English didn't feel impossible anymore. A foreign friend invited him to a group conversation, and he said yes. He even started thinking about traveling, studying abroad, maybe building a career that used English every day. Why? Because his mind had expanded, and so did his world. If you want to feel that too, try this. Pick 1 hour this week, 1 full hour, and make it 100% English, everything. Your phone, your thoughts, your YouTube, your notes. Just for 60 minutes, no translation, no switching back. Watch what happens. You'll feel resistance, but you'll also feel release. And in that hour, you'll hear a new version of yourself, because that version already lives inside you, the fluent you, the clear you, The you who doesn't hesitate, doesn't doubt, doesn't apologize for your voice. And once you've heard that version of yourself, even for a second, you'll never forget how it felt. You'll want more, and that desire will lead you right into the final realization. He sat quietly at the end of a long day. His phone was off, no videos, no noise, just him, and a quiet question rising from inside. Why did I translate for so long? The answer came without judgment, because I didn't believe English could belong in my mind. It always felt like something outside of him, a guest, not a resident. But now, something had shifted. English wasn't knocking at the door anymore. It had a key. It belonged. And it wasn't magic that made it happen. It was something much simpler. It was the daily agreement he made with himself. I will show up even if I'm not fluent. I will think in English, even if it feels strange. That quiet promise became a habit. That habit became a home. People always ask, what changed you? And the truth is never dramatic. It wasn't a course. It wasn't a new app. It was courage and consistency. He practiced even on days when he felt tired, awkward, or insecure. He talked to himself. He journaled in English. He whispered thoughts while walking. He chose progress over perfection again and again. Sometimes he would catch himself thinking in English and smile. No one else noticed, but he did. That small moment was victory, not loud, not flashy, but real. And he knew this is how fluency begins, not with fireworks, but with quiet shifts in identity. Shifts that happen when you stop chasing results and start honoring your future self. So he started asking a new question. Who am I becoming? Not just a language learner. That identity was too small now. He was becoming someone who lives between worlds, someone who sees more, feels more, understands more, a bilingual thinker, not just in words, but in mindset, in how he navigates life, connection, and opportunity. He began ending each day with a new ritual, recording one thought, entirely in English. Just 20 seconds, honest, simple. Today I felt stuck. I want to grow more. I am proud of my progress. No pressure, no editing, just truth. This tiny ritual became his way of honoring the promise. I think in English now. I'm not perfect, but I'm present. And that presence changed everything. He no longer waited for the right moment to feel fluent. He realized fluency is not a finish line. It's a lifestyle. It's not something you achieve. It's someone you decide to become each day, with your thoughts, with your effort, with your choice to make English part of your story. So now, he doesn't ask, when will I be fluent? He asks, how can I show up today, in English, as me? And maybe that's the real secret. There's no magical moment when the translation disappears forever. But there is a moment, today, where you can choose your future self. And every time you make that choice, your voice becomes freer. Now you know the truth. Translation isn't the problem, it's the symptom. The real issue is trust, not in English, but in yourself. And every time you choose to think in English, even for a few seconds, you're not just practicing a language, you're shaping a new identity. You're making space for the version of you that no longer hesitates, who lives in English, not just learns it. So ask yourself, what's stopping you from practicing 60 seconds of English-only thinking right now? What part of you still waits for permission when all you need is intention? And what would change in your life, your confidence, your career, your relationships, if you truly believed English belongs in my mind? This is not just a language, it's a tool, a path, and the most powerful thing about it, it's not what you sound like in English, it's who you become because of it. So if this story spoke to you, let's keep growing together. Subscribe to the channel for more deep, human, motivational English journeys. Leave a comment below. Tell me, what part of your English identity are you building today? Like this video, activate the bell, and let's make English the most meaningful thing you've ever learned.